Maverick News, the antivirus program for your mind. And now, the Freedom Reporters.
And they spray painted the Liberty Bell, took down the American flag, burned it, and put up the Palestinian flag, all because Benjamin Netanyahu came to Washington. And at 8 p.m. Eastern, Joe Biden will address the nation because he is alive, or so we're told. I guess the proof will be in the video 1 hour from now, but we have Kevin Michelizzi and Brendan Kennedy waiting in the wings, and this show gets on the road with our special contributors tonight right after this.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on Earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching. The world is watching. On TV.
The entire world is watching.
On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching.
Gentlemen, welcome back. Good to have you both here tonight.
Hey, Rick. Good
Rick.
morning.
Kevin,
Yes.
good morning.
Yeah, so Kevin, you're over there in Crimea. Brendan, you are tucked away in southern Ontario, just like me. And we're looking across the border here at what's going on in the US of A tonight. A lot of chaos, a lot of turmoil. Benjamin Netanyahu addressing Congress. Joe Biden about to address the nation in less than an hour after dropping out of the presidential race. And this was the scene today at Union Station, not Union Station, the Columbus Circle, Washington, Capitol Building. America is heavily under protest tonight. The American flag coming down. As a result of this, many arrests made here. Palestinian flag replacing it.
Burn that shit! 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 Alive! Burn that shit! Burn that shit!
Okay, I'll just throw it over to you guys.
Well, I'll be the first to cut some
Go
blood
for
here.
it.
All the useful idiots have come out to play. That's for sure. Here, that's what we're seeing here. I don't understand, and my very busy work schedule that I've had lately is there's a lot of organization that we have here. This didn't just happen overnight. Like, this is entirely well organized, and very large. Did they come out with any arrest numbers today, Rick?
I don't. I think it's too early to have anything accurate, but many arrests, and I'm going to bring up some video to actually illustrate and reinforce what you just said. It's not entirely, just organic. It is organized because we have video of protesters being bussed in. I don't know who's bussing them in, but definitely being bussed in, as you'll see in this video. Getting off the bus carrying pro-Palestinian or Palestinian flags and pro-Palestinian, signs and things. So.
No, and the wearing your mask. Don't forget to wear your mask.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Do you have any comments or thoughts, Kevin, on this?
Those are tourists, and they weren't bussed into protest. That woman's actually an artist, and she's doing a landscape. And you guys have to get back in, on the right story here. This is what you see all over. You see, I don't know. God, I hate to go to, our favorite neighbors to me, but this is what you had back in 2014. This is what you get all over the US and Canada, Europe. These people organize, they bus people in, they pay them to protest. You get so many young people because, hey, they tend to be starving college students and a bit of fanatics. And this is what you get, but they never let you see the buses unless somebody like there captures it out a window somewhere. They want you to think it just happened. So, Brendan, these people just woke up that day and decided, let's go out and protest.
Am I allowed to swear?
A little bit, yeah.
Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. No. Take a look at this.
You got something queued up there?
Yeah, it's just so this is a picture of what's going on today. Look at that. They all just went and bought the same color shirts today.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of hard.
Yeah. Yes.
And those are supposed to be, I believe,
and they're masked.
Jewish or Israeli protesters protesting against Netanyahu. Isn't that right? Yeah.
And it looks like it's called Not in Our Name.
Yeah. Not in our name. Yeah, because they're Israeli, but I think they're Jewish Americans or whatever. I haven't read that article, but I'm certain that these are Israeli protesters, but protesting against Netanyahu, Likud, and the military actions that Israel is taking in Gaza. And I think they had some other banners up. This is inside the Capitol building, and they had banners up saying, Netanyahu, stop the genocide, stuff like that, of course.
And they actually have a history of committing insurrections in public buildings.
Yeah, interesting, that this is not treated the same way as the J6 protesters, and yet they're inside the building. Different rules for different protests, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. How many of them are really Jewish Americans or Israelis? I think that's, Rick, this as well as Brendan and I do. Pretty much a scoped and cropped photo.
Well, I mean, I've seen wide shots. I've seen video of it. I mean, there were a lot of people in that building today, all wearing these red shirts, and a lot of arrests were made as a result of that protest.
But did they all look
organized.
Jewish?
Yeah.
Did they all look Jewish? Right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, and it's the same with campus protests. It's pro-Palestinian protests, but if you really go in and ask who they are or find out who the protesters are, I think you'll find the usual suspects, the people who are always out there protesting, particularly from the left side, the BLM, the Antifas, the people who just come out for the party. Some people get paid. It's the usual suspects who come out to these things over and over and over again. And in the years that I covered a lot of protests in my day, and yeah, you see some very familiar faces over and over and over again at these things. That being said, I do believe the country is, in a way, under attack because of these protests, but it isn't. I don't view this as being specifically related to just Gaza. I see this as political. It's an ongoing political movement to drive toward a particular political agenda, and that tends to be on the left. That's who these protesters are, in my view.
Yeah, like most protests like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's the same people. It's the Occupy Wall Street crowd. It's Antifa. It's BLM. It's people from the left. They love to protest. They're just perpetual protesters. That's what they do. I've seen them. Here in Canada, I've seen the same thing. And on the rare occasion when they actually do get elected, they tend to self-destruct because all they know how to do is protest. They love protesting so much they end up going out and protesting against themselves. I've seen it time and again. It's like
a
well,
dog.
we're in power now. What are we going to do? Well, let's protest.
It's a dog chasing a car, and then the dog catches a car, and then the dog doesn't know what to do with the car.
Yeah, but it is, in my view, I think it is terrible. Myself, I think today what we saw was behavior that just went way too far. I'm not in favor of this. I don't like it at all. I find it disingenuous to some degree, extreme. It is sincere. It is genuine insofar as that I believe a lot of these young people really do hate America, and they're quite eager to burn the flag, and they do want to usher in some sort of a revolution in their minds, right? But I personally, I don't like this behavior. I don't think it ever has to be like that. So I'm never in favor of any kind of violence or vandalism, but this is what we've had a lot of today, and I find it extremely distasteful, disturbing, and I have many examples of this kind of terrible behavior to show you tonight, unfortunately.
Yeah, and not referring to the supposedly official Me Too movement, but it tends to be that Me Too attitude. They get these groups of people who are paid or professional protesters, we'll call them, but they stir up a larger crowd. And, a lot of times, I mean, Rising Dragon's shown us that people don't know what they're protesting about.
Yes, that's right. That's very true. You just have to go and ask a few questions, and their ignorance will be on full display. And the other thing that I found very, right here, I'm going to run this clip. And does this person look like she's Palestinian? Does she look like, I would say more likely from a middle class or upper middle class, maybe even a wealthy family. And there's a little confrontation. This is, I believe, in the Columbus Monument.
Can I ask why you're spray painting? I'm just asking. That's my job.
What do you mean it's your job?
It's my job to ask questions.
What are you doing here? You don't support Palestine?
I support the free speech of the United States of America.
Do you support Palestine?
I lived in Jordan for 6 months, and I believe America is the last hope that we have. That's what I believe in.
So get the fuck out of here.
I'm here doing my job.
Over here, guys. Zionists.
Yeah, okay.
Zionists.
Okay.
Zionists over here.
Sure.
Zionists over here.
Baki Arabi كويس. Baki Arabi. Yeah, yeah. Ana biraz tu Jordan.
Don't take it back.
Ah.
You're a liar. You're a liar. I heard what you said. Everyone heard what you said over here.
I don't know. You know, if you won't agree with us and support our cause, even if you're being neutral, died.
This I have to be. This honestly does make my blood boil. This one here. It's me personally. Okay. This is me because this is the Liberty Bell. Look what they did to it today. I'm having a hard time with this one.
You know, and then these people will protest because the government's wasting their money on wars and, you know, why aren't they spending it on us? But they forget that somebody's got to go out and clean this stuff up afterwards.
Yeah.
If it can ever actually be fully restored.
If you're an American citizen and you're going to destroy the Liberty Bell, you're destroying a piece of yourself.
Yeah.
I get the anti-colonialism. I get that it, you know, Columbus. I understand their position. I don't agree with it, but I understand it. But I still don't think it justifies it. Even if you agree with them, I don't think that justifies what they did there. There are other ways to deal with things. That's my position. I'm appalled.
And I think a question here needs to be asked. With the way everybody's wearing the keffiyeh, I can never pronounce that. Is it keffiyeh?
It's because we're Canadian, Brendan. I struggle with it sometimes too. Keffiyeh.
Okay, so with
keffiyeh.
Is it cultural appropriation with how they're using it?
It's a legitimate question.
Their rules, not mine.
Yeah.
I did not make the rules. They made these rules.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter got accused of trying to appropriate African American culture because she wears her hair in a braid. You know, it's like, oh. So yeah, it is cultural appropriation. And
historically, hair braids come from the Norse and the Vikings.
Yeah.
So all of this because Netanyahu addressed Congress today, and he actually used the same words you did, Brendan. I don't know if you used those words, useful idiots, because you saw it or heard what he said earlier, but maybe you're just, you know, connected through telekinesis or something. Maybe Benjamin Netanyahu is exerting mind control on you. I don't know.
Get in the right mindset, Rick. That was not Netanyahu. He's wearing a mask.
Oh, that's right. It's his clone, actually.
Yeah.
The anti-Israel protests that are going on right now outside this building, not that many, but they're there, and throughout the city. Well, I have a message for these protesters. When the tyrants of Tehran, who hang gays from cranes and murder women for not covering their hair, are praising, promoting, and funding you, you have officially become Iran's useful idiots.
So there's the allegation that Iran is funding and maybe fueling or pushing these protests.
Some of these protesters.
You know, for me, it comes back to the same thing. If you're not with us, you're against us. I have no words. I could go all over the place with Netanyahu's speech, but I wasn't sure if I was listening to him or Putin or Zelensky or good old Sleepy Joe, depending on what I was listening to in a speech. Everybody is anti-Israel if they're not pro-Israel. He went on in his speech, and this is why I make this statement. Excuse me. He goes on in the speech and says these people are all supporting Hamas. So you have people out there, maybe some of them honestly protesting for Palestinians, but if they're protesting for Palestinians, they're protesting for Hamas. So there's this narrative in all of it. All of it.
Brandon?
Well, I called them useful idiots because of what Yuri Bezmenov said, that there's always going to be people that they take advantage of. And like all these people that are there right now, they would be the first ones to be thrown away after the revolution. Like, they are absolute useful idiots. I don't have an opinion against one way or another against Netanyahu. I think he's all right. I don't know enough about him, though. I honestly don't. But
for me, it's not an opinion against him, but it's the same thing. I viewed what was going on in Congress during his speech as more useful idiots.
You mean the members of Congress being the useful idiots?
Yes.
Those guys are more tools. They're actual direct tools is what they are. They're tools.
Well, yeah.
Which is similar to a useful idiot, but they're tools.
But they're smart enough to collect a big paycheck for it.
But I have to say, I don't see the conflict in Gaza as just the conflict in Gaza. I see a much broader geopolitical situation. I see the link between Israel and the United States. I see the battle lines being drawn. I see the alliances on the one side and the affiliations, the associations, the axis developing on the other side, however you want to phrase it or describe it. You see Russia with Iran, with China, with, you see the BRICS nations. I see the broader, larger issues with the world sort of being divided in two and different countries being pushed to one side or the other. And this is why we're heading off into potentially a more serious version of World War III. Like, this is where we're heading. It's very concerning to me. It's very worrisome. I think it's very, very serious. It's not just about Gaza. So I totally get what he's saying about Iran. There's no doubt in my mind that, yeah, all these foreign countries are involved in information warfare here. We're involved in information warfare over there. Propaganda. Yep. They're, all these countries, no doubt that Iran is spending money to influence people online to come out and protest like this today. I don't doubt that one bit. And maybe other countries too. Maybe China's got some money in there too. Probably they do. So I don't think any of that is, that's not crazy talk. That's the way it works.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't think it's useful to get out there and, like you say, it's the divide and conquer thing. Everything anti-Israel is Iran's fault now. And yeah, over here, I see Iran's propaganda against Israel. Same thing, it's, I don't know, just dividing the world.
Well, somebody is making off like a bandit by dividing and conquering here. Somebody's at the top of it, right? Somebody's got to be. Somebody's benefiting from this.
I'm going to put the conspiracy sarcasm on again. It's obviously George Soros.
He's out of the picture. He retired.
Well, his son then.
It's his boy now.
Yeah,
Not entirely. You don't have to go very far to find a George Soros you know, organization attached to a lot of things, whether it, media outlets or whatever. So I can see why people just get right down that rabbit hole because there's a little bit of truth to it, but I don't think any of that stuff is as, I think a lot of it is obviously exaggerated. A lot of these
Yeah.
things are, right?
Well, that's
BlackRock.
the information. That's the information warfare. The propaganda is take a little bit of truth and stretch it and bend it, and
Yeah. That's like BlackRock, right? That's the big corporate boogeyman now that it's trotted out for everything. BlackRock this and BlackRock that. It's just been turned into a phrase, right? It's it's BlackRock and Thomas Crooks, the 20-year-old who took the
yeah,
shot. He's at Trump. He was in a BlackRock commercial. Yeah, it's true. He was, which is a little bit weird. So. I mean, they're getting a lot of mileage out of that too. But what does that really mean? I don't know.
yeah. It means
He was
the
in a
camera
BlackRock
happened to be
commercial
there when he was in class.
when they were shooting something at the high school. So
I
but
think
what
that
is
was
BlackRock? It's a corporation. It's a big company with a lot of people who hold shares in the company. If you have a mutual fund, you probably own some BlackRock, or a company that's owned by BlackRock. Everybody owns BlackRock, because it's such a big company, and it's not just in the United States either. That's money from all over the world, honestly, but.
Yeah, I mean, I have money in Fidelity Investments, and they're one of the big 7 owners. And I saw in the chat somebody asked who owns BlackRock. There's 2 guys, two mega owners, and the other 5 are companies. If you bank at JP Chase Morgan or JP Morgan Chase, guess what? You've invested in BlackRock. If you have investments with Vanguard, you're invested in BlackRock. Capital Group, Fidelity Investments. So if you collect a pension, BlackRock has their nails in you.
Yeah, and maybe we need tougher antitrust laws. Maybe that needs to be broken up to inject more competition into the marketplace. But then you'd be a far right, laissez-faire economic guy and capitalist. So that would be evil too.
Yep.
You can't win, right?
Yep. Trying to break AT&T apart again, aren't we? Huh.
Yeah, Dragon says he just sent footage to Rick was protesting again in front of National Bank in Montreal. Oh, okay. I'll take it.
I was going to drop the comment out of that and say that he was actually saying you were protesting in front of the bank.
Oh. Yeah, not me. I tend not to go and protest too much. I've been to a couple of protests in my entire life, a few, and that was because of the lockdowns, which just because it was so anti-freedom, I just had to do something. But that's the exception. Other than that, I've never really been to protests other than to cover them. I can tell you that.
Yeah, me too. I'm not a fan of going out there and protesting. I'd rather
I've never been either.
Well, when I was in high school, marijuana was all the rage, and they were like, "We need a legalized cannabis rally." So I did that.
Well, sure, but the world was a lot calmer when everyone was stoned, right?
Well, I think there's more people stoned on pharmaceuticals now than there's ever been people stoned on pot.
Well, yeah, I'm talking about pot specifically. Sorry.
That was before my time, man.
Well, I mean, honestly, like, I get that it's not entirely organic. I get that it's organized. I have to say that today I've about had my limit. Okay, I've about had my fill. This is, for me, it's too much. I don't like it. I have to editorialize. I don't like this stuff. It's
No.
gone too far, and I think a lot of these people involved in it don't really understand the politics. They don't really understand what they're doing, and it's not productive. You can disagree with Netanyahu, but this is just too damn much.
If you took Israel away from the Jews today and just gave it to Palestine, just like that, everybody with any inch of Jewish heritage in their bloodline would be witch hunted down and killed. Like, that's just what do you want? What's your objective? They don't have an objective. They want free Palestine, whatever the hell that means. They don't even know what it means. I don't even know what it means. Do you guys?
Oh, I know exactly what it means.
Yeah.
It means they want Israel wiped off the face of the planet. They want all those Jews to leave, or worse. So that's what it really means. But the problem here is that it's also the same way the other way. The Israelis want the Palestinians gone too. They're tired of having missiles launched at them. They feel like there's this constant existential threat that they're in danger of being wiped out after having gone through the Holocaust, and the way that they view things, they're under a constant state of siege. So they feel like they need to control that area for security reasons, so that there are not rockets launched against them. Both sides see the other as an existential threat. They think that the only way to really ultimately deal with it is to get rid of the other side. So we're at this, we've got these two extreme views, and everyone's like, well, we'll just have a two-state solution, but it doesn't really work because both sides don't see that as really an option at this point. They both want to exterminate each other, either by expelling them and sending them to some other place on the planet, or by killing them. So that's what we're faced with.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, I see the point. I've got lots of Jewish friends. My co-host is Jewish, and I've heard those same things as well. You know, our people are afraid of constant bombs and things, but he never sees the fact that they actually do some of the same stuff to the Palestinians. You know, and I'm leaving Hamas out of it because I think they're best left out of that discussion, you know, as far as that goes, because I don't think the Israeli people are much different than the Palestinian people. It comes down to the fanatics, you know, like you said, Rick. They've both stated that they want to eliminate the other side. Right now, they all go, oh, no, never said that. But, you know, it's on public record. We know they have.
Yes, they have. Yeah. And but you know, for me too, what's going on here in Canada, in the United States, on campuses, at these protests today, these protesters, no need for that. That only makes things, honestly, worse. That doesn't really help. It just
exactly
ramps all this stuff up, gets us further away from a real solution. It really, truly does. And I think that that's because you have other governments, you have political action groups, activists within our countries who honestly are who exploit what is going on in Gaza for their own political purposes here. So if you're a far left socialist or a communist and you want a revolution, this is a way to get people out into the streets. If you're a foreign government, this is a way to destabilize the United States by, you know, creating chaos just to one degree or another by encouraging people to get out there and protest in the streets. You get all these players. No wonder things are chaotic. And it's not even just foreign actors, it's opposing political parties where they get into the mix too, where the Democrats try to stir things up so that they get whatever they want politically. In fact, there was, and I don't know how accurate or truthful this is, but there is tonight a post on social media from a guy. How's that for accuracy? Let me find it here so I can be accurate.
Some guy.
There's some guy
somewhere.
posted a thing on social media. He's involved in data collection, and they're claiming that they have tracked over 200 cell phones of belonging to protesters who were previously at a Kamala Harris event like yesterday. And then they're protesting in the streets tonight.
Well,
man, maybe I've lost the clip.
I mean, that's a natural assumption to make anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that's nothing new. I have a big question, and I found this footage here from the protest today, and I think it's worthy of taking a look at.
Sure.
So, I want you guys to count the number of police officers per the amount of people.
Fucking mind? What are you doing? You can't!
I counted 4 cops there.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Today they bust into the Capitol, reinforcements from the New York Police Department, and then swore them in as Capitol Police for today's protests because the police there were so outnumbered they had to bring in more, but because the protests were massive today.
I'm feeling extra sarcastic this morning for some reason, but you know, that darn police brutality we just watched in that video. And the one cop's trying to hold all those protesters off with what? A can of pepper spray?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Tough job,
I have
tough gig, eh?
I have wasp spray canisters bigger than that.
Yeah, like
Me too.
I've had my fill of all of this stuff. My level of tolerance for it is eroding. I don't have much left. It's just to the point now where it just seems stupid to me, and I don't like it because I just think that you see the attitude with that young lady, right? It's like, well, why are you here? Are you supporting our cause? If not, then you have to leave. Well, no, he has every right to be there. We've seen it on the campuses as well with Dragon. They only allow certain journalists into the public square, right? They're going to restrict access. They actually do occupy space. They occupy public spaces like university campuses, and then they're saying only you can come, or you're allowed, you're not. That's not freedom. That is not a free society. So you want those? You're going to support that? I don't support that. You want to protest all you want, but you can't have free speech for you, but not for somebody else. You can't have freedom of movement for you and freedom to occupy for you in a public place, but not for somebody else. Now you're an authoritarian.
And they're the same ones who will complain about free speech if they're told they can't protest.
Exactly. This is why I've had my fill of them. They're hypocrites, and I'm just sick of it because they're just full of crap. At the end of the day, they're full of crap.
I think that
that's not a statement on the Palestinian issue. I'm talking about the protests. That's
I
what
don't-
I'm talking about.
I don't even know if I would call that a protest. Like, this is like a riot or something else. Like, I don't feel like you can go somewhere and commit so much damage to the public and call it a protest still. And then a big question that I really have to ask about is the Capitol Police must be bloody incompetent. There's no other explanation for it. They're just swearing in New York cops today. How many channels of intelligence do all of the law enforcement agencies have all together where they were anticipating this, and then they send those four schmucks in there to try and do something about it? Like, give me a break. What the hell is this?
Well, I do see this as a form of an arm or an element of the war that we're involved in. It's not like people showing up with guns, but it is disruptive. It's designed to spread chaos. It's part of this global conflict that we're in. And these guys, I think they are honestly useful idiots because they're just responding to the stimuli that is being injected to get them to act out. My opinion. Kevin, you know, kind of, I mean, you've got a background in this stuff, so you're a professional. How am I sort of in the right arena?
You are in the right arena.
Yeah.
That's why they call it perception management.
Yeah.
You know.
So, my goodness. And I'll tell you, all of these young people out there participating in this, when America is gone, I somehow think that they're going to miss it. And, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know how much of America is actually left anymore, because a lot of the politicians we have also been participating in this crap. Just in slightly different ways.
That kind of shows the quality of the politicians that they're electing as well. So
yes, you know,
divide and conquer.
Yes, in fact, I think I said that just last night or the night before. Never have we been so divided, and that is really what's going on. You know, they really have divided the country. When I say they, I'm just talking about all these different actors, and I've already named them, the different entities, governments, not just our own government, not just our own political parties, outside influences as well. It has divided the country, and that's making the country easier to conquer.
Yeah.
That's the way it works. And, you know, this is the kind of imagery, too, that helps fuel all of that. Now, I called Netanyahu an idiot on this program myself at one point, because Kevin, I think you'll back me up when I say that from the beginning, I said that going in heavy the way that Israel did into Gaza after October 7th was a trap. I said they shouldn't do it. Didn't I say that?
You did. I was on air with you.
Yeah. And now you get this, right? This is the reaction. It was a trap, and they've lost public support, but at the same time, I see all sides in this. I try to keep myself balanced, but man, we're in trouble because of all of this.
Well, it wouldn't be right if I didn't say it, you know. It's all Putin's fault.
Some of it probably is.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, some of it probably is.
It probably is, yes.
Because that's the other thing. Like every country has an interest in the Middle East, Russia included. The oil is all there, right? So everybody's involved to one degree or another. Russia is certainly aligning itself with Iran. So, you know, there's absolutely a connection and affiliation. Yet at the same time, it's a complicated relationship that Russia has with these Arab countries. I think even the United States relationship with these Arab countries is complicated. It's not just black and white. It's and with Russia, you know, they're trying to balance things. They have to be pragmatic. Sometimes they're probably dealing with people and leaders that they don't particularly care for, but they are forced to deal with them because of the reality of the politics.
Yeah.
That's the way it works.
Yeah. I mean, you know, people always take one side or the other on, interference in elections. Russia gets blamed for that a lot. Do they have an interest in who's in office, regardless what they say? Absolutely. And do they interfere? Absolutely. Now,
Yeah,
on the other hand, I see it over here. The United States interferes over here as well. Georgia, Armenia, they all do it. None of them innocent.
If Russia has access to troll farms, so does the United States and every other country.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know anything about that, Brendan.
I don't suppose you would.
So we're about 15 minutes away from Joe Biden addressing the nation.
Yeah. You just picked action-packed stuff I'm tired of hearing of.
What's that? Joe Biden?
Well, the whole, the thing Rick's been talking about here, the whole protests for Palestine, for Israel, anti everybody.
I'm gonna talk about these schmucks until they're gone. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, screw them. These people are dangerous. They're coming for me. Well, you know what? I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna talk about you guys until the cows come home, because they need to be exposed. And I don't care if it's the same thing day in and day out. These people make me sick, and they're gonna deserve whatever the hell they have coming to them. And I mean that not in a violence way. I totally mean that. And what goes around comes around. You can't just go around committing crimes like some sort of animal in the street. We're supposed to be better, but these people are heathens. They need to do better.
You're talking about the protesters, right?
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
Not
I'm with you. I'm 100% with you, man. I've had it up to my eyeballs with them, and I don't like the way they treat people that are not on side with them. I do not understand why people are supportive of them at all when they act like that, because they're just showing you exactly what they are. They're authoritarians. I'm not in favor of that. And vandals.
Gee, Rick's trying to move us on to Biden, and I triggered you guys again. So, I don't disagree with either of you. Brendan, my comment was actually going to be the fact that I'm tired of hearing that Biden is dead too.
Oh, yeah. They had footage about it. They had footage from him, I think, the other day.
Yesterday, yes.
Well, yeah, well, when he called into Kamala Harris in the campaign headquarters, it was obviously a fake call. And, now we're going to pull out the story from back a month or so ago that was actually, video from a couple years earlier, that it's not really Biden. They've got him in some guy in a mask, a character actor. Doesn't matter. Shown, they're still going to believe that stupidity.
Oh, you don't think the Secret Service has a body double for Biden? I would wager he does. They do.
Oh, I'm sure of it too, and I've gone that far. I've agreed that for all these world leaders, they probably do have body doubles, so that this guy gets in a car over there and another guy gets in a car over there, so that they can fake out anybody that might want to be, planting a bomb or taking them out. Of course, for security reasons, right?
This is why you never know which limousine the president is actually in.
That's the same kind of tactic, right? It's just deception. And I mean,
reality is they do have a body double for Putin. I'm sure of that too. Just standard security. I know for a fact that Putin has a bodyguard that looks very similar to him. If you see him up close, it's obvious it's two different people. But at a distance where you'd be a sniper or a shooter, some kind of person wanting to attack, it's hard to tell them apart.
Yeah.
Oh, and I should just to go back to the protests very briefly. In Manhattan, they did actually find a pipe bomb, and they had to send in the bomb squad. This is video of that, and this is another example of what I'm talking about. Like, the things have just gone way too damn far. This is unacceptable. And this is why the U.S. is on a heightened terror alert. This is a real thing. This really happened today. A pipe bomb in Manhattan, and this all related to today's protesting, because it wasn't just in Washington.
Okay, that was my question. Was there heavy protests there too?
Oh yeah, there were protests all over the place today.
So then it makes even less sense. We will pull officers from the NYPD and bring them to Washington.
Yeah. And in fact, I think Dragon, and I haven't had a chance to bring it up yet, but he did send some video that I haven't seen. Maybe I can find it while you guys chat a little bit here, but I think he said there was protest in Montreal today too over this.
I don't know. I'm really weirded out about this question about, like, Kevin, you're an intelligence, or you've been in intelligence. Like, any schmuck with a Telegram channel or a Telegram account could have figured out that there would be all these protests all over the place, don't you think?
Well, yeah, I wasn't in intelligence. I was a contractor for the DOD. So, but yes, I mean, I was in propaganda. And this is how they detect this stuff is going on. My son actually works for one of these anti-troll farms, which is nothing more than a troll farm. But what they do is they watch social media. They watch chats in these public games. You're playing your favorite online game with 800 other people across the world, and they're watching the private chats. And this is where they detect where terror attacks are going to come from. This is where they figure out where protests are going to be. And gee, if you want to instigate a protest or join a specific protest, like you say, watch Telegram.
Yeah. Telegram
or
Discord, that's a big one.
Facebooky or X, formerly Twitter, now who knows what else in the future.
Speaking of terrorists playing video games and that sort of thing, Osama bin Laden was quite the Counter-Strike player.
You know that because you played him, yes?
No, I saw the video. There's a whole video. It goes down the rabbit hole about what the hell was on Osama bin Laden's computer. It was like the weirdest stuff.
Here's Dragon's footage out of Montreal.
I just figured that out on my way back home. So.
Free Palestine!
So that's Montreal today.
Free Palestine!
But these just constant protesting anymore, right?
La Palestine est dans nos cœurs, libérez nos frères et sœurs. La Palestine est dans nos cœurs, libérez nos frères et sœurs. La Palestine est dans nos cœurs, libérez nos frères et sœurs. La Palestine est dans nos cœurs, libérez nos frères et sœurs. Libérez.
Ah, that's nothing.
That's the Pied Pipers. What that is, it's just a play you just get the beat going, and the mindless fools will follow you anywhere.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's it's a technique we talked about in propaganda all the time. You get that beat going. See, they got me going too. I was ready to go out there and protest with them.
Yep.
No idea what I was protesting for, but yeah.
But it's got a good beat and it's easy to dance to, just like
That's
all the
right.
great tunes on American Bandstand.
I'm
That's
here
right.
I'm here for the Free Palestine. Do you have any left?
Yeah. Oh.
That is about
Just
it,
a little
man.
piece for you.
That's about it.
It
Guys,
may be
excuse me.
next. Yeah,
One
it may
moment,
be
I'll
next to an
I'll be right back.
IED, but
Man, so I'm just checking in here. Hang on a second here. I'm just checking in to see if we have Biden up yet. He's not live yet, but should be in the next few minutes. Supposed to be up at 8 p.m. Eastern. We are now at 7:56 p.m. For those of you watching live. If you're watching the recorded version of this later, I have no idea what time it is. But right now, in my reality, in this plane of existence, it's 7:56 p.m. So
2:56 a.m. where I am.
oh my, don't envy you.
Just to give people some context.
And yeah, you're doing extra service tonight. You're on triple time and a half.
Yeah, well,
what that's worth. Boy. So, and just a reminder, folks, that on Friday we will be doing another installment of Maverick Midnight Matinee, and I threw it out there last night for people to guess what the conspiracy focused movie of the night will be, which we will be discussing when we do the program. And I'm going to give away a free Exile the Knights of Malta t-shirt to whoever guesses what the movie is. But so far, nobody has been right. Not nobody. A lot of cool guesses.
And I'm going to support you on that right now. We'll see if we can get the blinky lights working. There we go.
Yeah, that you've got the mood lighting happening, and if that isn't, and if that's not scary, at least it's going to get you dancing. We'll get the rhythm going, get the disco lights in the background, but they're kind
or
of
give you
spooky disco
seizures.
lights. Yeah, that's right. If you're epileptic, be careful. Do not watch our program. Yeah. Oh man. So yeah, any guesses on what the movie is going to be? I'll give you another clue. It's from the 1970s. Okay? And it's a conspiracy focused film. And what else did I tell you? It was nominated for an Academy Award.
I don't know. I'm afraid to guess because you have no way to get me that shirt.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It must be a way to get you the shirt. Some way. The post office doesn't go to Crimea these days?
Post office doesn't go to Russia at all anymore
Yeah.
from the United States, Canada, or
So how do
most
you
of Europe.
Is there like a total blockade on shipments to over there from the West now?
Yeah, actually, it doesn't work, but I can get things here through many unnamed countries that are supposedly NATO allies or European Union or are very vocal vocal residents of a neighboring country that still ship all their goods here.
Yeah, so any other guesses on what the movie might be, folks? I don't see anybody guessing right now.
Is
Well,
it
I've
a
had a lot of
paranoid thriller or just conspiracy based?
Conspiracy based. Not a paranoid thriller. No, I wouldn't say that.
I don't know.
1970s,
huh?
1970s. Academy Award nominee. I'll go further than that and I'll say it didn't win, but it was nominated.
Future World?
Nope.
Oh.
Not bad. Not a bad guess, though. Not a bad
Hey,
guess.
Fonda. What can I say?
Art Clark says Conspiracy Theory, 1971. Was that actually a movie? I'm not familiar with that. Is that a real? I don't know.
Obviously, that's not the right pick, right?
Tron. Tron was from the 80s, I believe, not the 70s.
Yes, it was. I remember seeing that when I was in school.
And the Dodgy Git Show says UN Agenda 1974. I think it was a 72. Well, I'm not familiar with that as a movie, but if that is the case, I haven't seen it, and that ain't it. How to have a peaceful revolution. I think that's part of a different conversation. All the President's Men. Nope. Nope, not that one.
Parallax view.
Nope.
3 Days of Gender.
Nope. The Lincoln Conspiracy. Nope. Good guess.
JFK.
No, was there a JFK movie in the 1970s?
Oh
That
no,
was-
that was later.
in
Yeah,
the 90s.
yeah,
90s? Yeah, I think Oliver
yeah,
Stone.
90s. Capricorn 1.
Oh, that was a good movie, but no.
Oh, okay.
Good film. Yeah, good film. Actually, Capricorn 1, that's the kind of, oh, here we go. Biden's up.
Whew.
Hang on.
Lincoln, who implored us to reject malice. Franklin Roosevelt, who inspired us to reject fear. I revere this office, but I love my country more. It's been the honor of my life to serve as your president. But in the defense of democracy, which is at stake, I think is more important than any title. I draw strength and I find joy in working for the American people. But this sacred task of perfecting our union is not about me. It's about you, your families, your futures. It's about we, the people. We can never forget that. And I never have. I've made it clear that I believe America is at an inflection point. One of those rare moments in history when the decisions we make now will determine our fate of our nation and the world for decades to come. America's going to have to choose between moving forward or backward, between hope and hate, between unity and division. We have to decide, do we still believe in honesty, decency, respect, freedom, justice, and democracy? In this moment, we can see those we disagree with not as enemies, but as fellow Americans. Can we do that? Does character in public life still matter? I believe I know the answer to these questions because I know you, the American people. And I know this, we are a great nation because we are good people. When you elected me to this office, I promised to always level with you, to tell you the truth. And the truth, the sacred cause of this country is larger than any one of us. And those of us who cherish that cause, cherish it so much, a cause of American democracy itself, must unite to protect it. You know, in recent weeks, it's become clear to me that I need to unite my party in this critical endeavor. I believe my record as president, my leadership in the world, my vision for America's future, all merited a second term. But nothing can come in the way of saving our democracy. That includes personal ambition. So I've decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation. That's the best way to unite our nation. You know, there is a time and a place for long years of experience in public life. But there's also a time and a place for new voices, fresh voices, yes, younger voices. And that time and place is now. Over the next 6 months, I'll be focused on doing my job as president. That means I'll continue to lower costs for hardworking families, grow our economy. I'll keep defending our personal freedoms and our civil rights, from the right to vote to the right to choose. I'll keep calling out hate and extremism. Make it clear there is no place in America for political violence or any violence ever, period. I'm going to keep speaking out to protect our kids from gun violence, our planet from climate crisis that is the existential threat, And I will keep fighting for my cancer moonshot so we can end cancer as we know it, because we can do it. And I'm going to call for Supreme Court reform, because this is critical to our democracy, Supreme Court reform. You know, I will keep working to ensure America remains strong and secure and the leader of the free world. I'm the first president in this century to report to the American people that the United States is not at war anywhere in the world. We'll keep rallying a coalition of proud nations to stop Putin from taking over Ukraine and doing more damage. We'll keep NATO stronger, and I'll make it more powerful and more united than any time in all of our history. I'll keep doing the same for our allies in the Pacific. You know, when I came to office, the conventional wisdom was that China would inevitably surpass the United States. That's not the case anymore. And I'm going to keep working to end the war in Gaza, bring home all the hostages, and bring peace and security to the Middle East and end this war. We're also working around the clock to bring home Americans being unjustly detained all around the world. You know, we've come so far since my inauguration. On that day, I told you, as I stood in that winter, we stood in a winter of peril and a winter of possibilities. Peril and possibilities. We were in the grip of the worst pandemic in the century. The worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. The worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. But we came together as Americans, and we got through it. We emerged stronger, more prosperous, and more secure. Today we have the strongest economy in the world, creating nearly 16 million new jobs, a record. Wages are up. Inflation continues to come down. The racial wealth gap is the lowest it's been in 20 years. We're literally rebuilding our entire nation, urban, suburban, rural, and tribal communities. Manufacturing has come back to America. We're leading the world again in chips and science and innovation. We finally beat Big Pharma after all these years to lower the cost of prescription drugs for seniors. And I'm going to keep fighting to make sure we lower the cost for everyone, not just seniors. More people have health care today in America than ever before. And I signed one of the most significant laws helping millions of veterans and their families who are exposed to toxic materials. You know, most significant climate law ever in the history of the world. The first major gun safety law in 30 years. And today, the violent crime rate is at a 50-year low. We're also securing our border. Border crossings are lower today than when the previous administration left office. I've kept my commitment to appoint the first black woman to the Supreme Court of the United States of America. I also kept my commitment to have an administration that looks like America and be a president for all Americans. That's what I've done. I ran for president 4 years ago because I believed and still do that the soul of America was at stake. The very nature of who we are was at stake. And that's still the case. America's an idea. An idea stronger than any army, bigger than any ocean, more powerful than any dictator or tyrant. It's the most powerful idea in the history of the world. That idea is that we hold these truths to be self-evident. We're all created equal, endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights: life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. We've never fully lived up to it, to this sacred idea, but we've never walked away from it either. And I do not believe the American people will walk away from it now. In just a few months, the American people will choose the course of America's future. I made my choice. I've made my views known. I would like to thank our great Vice President Kamala Harris. She's experienced, she's tough, she's capable. She's been an incredible partner to me and a leader for our country. Now the choice is up to you, the American people. When you make that choice, remember the words of Benjamin Franklin hanging on my wall here in the Oval Office, alongside the busts of Dr. King and Rosa Parks and Cesar Chavez. When Ben Franklin was asked, as he emerged from the convention going on, whether the founders had given America a monarchy or republic, Franklin's response was a republic, if you can keep it. A republic, if you can keep it. Whether we keep our republic is now in your hands. My fellow Americans, it's been the privilege of my life to serve this nation for over 50 years. Nowhere else on earth could a kid with a stutter, from modest beginnings in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and Claymont, Delaware, one day sit behind the resolute desk in the Oval Office as President of the United States. But here I am. That's what's so special about America. We're a nation of promise and possibilities, of dreamers and doers, of ordinary Americans doing extraordinary things. I've given my heart and my soul to our nation, like so many others. I've been blessed a million times in return with the love and support of the American people. I hope you have some idea how grateful I am to all of you. The great thing about America is here, kings and dictators do not rule, the people do. History is in your hands. The power is in your hands. The idea of America lies in your hands. We just have to keep faith, keep the faith, and remember who we are. We're the United States of America, and there's simply nothing beyond our capacity when we do it together. So let's act together, preserve our democracy. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going first. Okay. The powers and the people. The people. This guy is totally out of touch. Why am I'm just looking at the U.S. version of Justin Trudeau. The power is supposed to be with the people, but the people have lost confidence in the elections, in the electoral system, and in democracy. Half the population at least thinks the system is rigged. Okay, so that's not a properly functioning democracy. He says we're not at war. Are you kidding me? He says the U.S. is not at war. This guy has brought the entire world to the brink of a real kinetic World War III because of his foreign policy. All right? Like, my views on Ukraine evolve over time. It's the current reality. I'll comment on that, blah, blah, blah. But the reality is, it's the Biden foreign policies that got us into this mess. And I think not just in Ukraine, but also in Gaza and in the Red Sea with Yemen. And it just goes on and on. What's going on with Iran? He just doesn't know how to handle it. Why is that? That's because he's a weak president. He's weak. And when you're weak, you're not dealing with people from a position of strength. I don't think that other world leaders actually respect him. They're walking all over him. And it's not that, and it's because he's been walking around trying to carry a big stick when he's weak. And weak not just because he doesn't, not because he doesn't have the weapons, but because he's been incapacitated. He's not lucid. He's not really even the guy running things. And it's people behind the scenes that have just brought the entire world to the brink of disaster. You know, he talks about his economic policies. He says it's the strongest economy in the world. No, it isn't. It's a failing economy on just about every front. He says China, not overtaking the United States. China's a formidable adversary. They have their own sets of challenges, but you talk about inflation. Their inflation rate right now is only about 0.29%. In the United States and in Canada right now, it's almost at 3%, and that's the official number, which is complete bunk. They calculate inflation differently now than they used to. So that inflation is much, much higher than they're letting on. And over the past, 4 years, you've had pretty steady inflation, I think, in real terms of probably close to 15, 20%, probably 15 in the US, maybe 10 to 15. In Canada, it's 15 to 20, maybe even higher. And that's eroding people's savings. That's a massive hidden tax on people, especially people with a hidden income. The result is you've got people, even here in my community right now, out on strike, protesting, striking for unprecedented wage hikes, which we've seen in the auto industry as well, where they're now making like upwards of $40 an hour, and people still complaining that they can't make ends meet even with that kind of money coming in. You know, the situation in Gaza, I mean, again, he talks about the hostages. Well, damn it, if he was a strong president, the hostages would probably be released. Netanyahu ain't doing nothing to get those guys out because he's not really in the true position of power. But, you know, if Biden would take on a more realistic foreign policy as it relates to Gaza, those hostages would probably be out, including, I think there are still 8 Americans who are in custody over there, who are being held right now by Hamas. And yet, you know, I look back at the Reagan era, and, you know, same thing with Carter. He was an ineffective president. You had the Iran hostage crisis, and those hostages were released as Ronald Reagan was being inaugurated, just because he took a different approach to foreign policy. And I think the same thing could hold true here as well. But he's not creative enough in the way that he's dealing with his diplomacy. He's playing both sides off against the middle, trying to appeal to both sides to get the votes. So he gets Muslim votes in Dearborn and Jewish votes in New York. Okay. And nobody's really benefiting from any of this. It becomes incoherent. You can't tell whether the administration is coming or going. This is just bunk. Chips, leading in chips, they exported chip production to Taiwan, and they're just beginning to bring the computer chip production back to North America. It's not here. They're not leading on anything anymore. Oh, we invented the computer chip. No, well, maybe you did. Maybe the guys at MIT were involved in developing the computer chip technology, but the production is all still over in Taiwan. And the CHIPS Act that they've introduced here, it's still in the early stages of actually reestablishing production in the United States, because they've just realized, after going through the pandemic, that the auto industry was completely crippled because they couldn't get the chips to put into the computers for the cars, so that the industry was crippled. And now they're trying to bring the production back, but they're nowhere near leading in anything. That's a damn lie. The pharma thing, Kevin, you've pointed out before, bringing the cost of prescription medications down. What he's saying, that's another lie. I mean, it comes down, what, $1 or something, I think you said, or $3 for insulin, or $3. You know, this is crap. This is, you know, the U.S. is an idea. Yeah, it is an idea, but the United States is more than that. It's a real functioning country. It's not just an idea. It is a republic that needs to be preserved, nurtured, if you can keep it, all right? But you have to look beyond. This is just rhetoric. This is just crap that he's spewing, these cliches coming out of his mouth. All right. The problem is that as he's spewing these cliches after a 4-year disastrous presidency, probably one of the most ineffective presidents in history, if not the most ineffective and one of the weakest, he's just spewing these cliches. A republic, if you can keep it. How are you going to keep your republic when literally tonight we're looking at video of people spraying graffiti all over the Liberty Bell and all over, you know, destroying basically Columbus Circle?
The
symbolism
is uncanny.
No,
Absolutely.
and they're burning the American flag. They took it down and replaced it with the Palestinian flag. And you're sitting there telling me that the nation is strong tonight? No, it's not. The nation is completely divided. That the nation is in a state of chaos. And it will be very, very fortunate at this point if the United States even survives, because people have no pride in their country anymore. They hate it. At least half of the population hates their own country. It's a disaster. It's an absolute disaster. Terrible, terrible president, and he can't leave office soon enough, as far as I'm concerned. That's where I stand. I'm just looking at a senile version of Justin Trudeau. Gentlemen.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, the manufacturing of chips things, you know, there's a lot of publicity been made of it, but Nvidia is a big one that they hold up there, manufacturing their chips in the United States. They design them, they manufacture a few in the United States. Most of their production is done in Indonesia and Taiwan. TMSC. Texas Instruments, they opened up a facility in Texas. That doesn't mean they've brought manufacturing back to the United States. So that's BS. Like you said, the medicine thing, that's BS. The thing that really gets me is the guy can't really stay in office for 6 months and run the country. He can't even look at the camera and talk. We had this discussion before too about the teleprompter thing. But did you notice again? He's staring off over to his left, and the whole time it's like he's straining to see something.
This time is slightly different with the teleprompter. He's looking forward and above, like really weirdly. And then, speaking of like video and audio, you guys hear the audio in that?
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Like
crackling.
The background audio in that was like, who the hell is running that? It's the sound quality of that entire thing was total crap.
His son was a little high today.
And, you know, and then I was putting some of the comments up on the screen. That's not the real Biden because of his hands. You know, all of these comments.
Yeah, it was a black man pretending to be Biden. Did you see?
The thing is, again, it just shows how destabilized the country is, how people don't trust anything anymore. People can't even trust what's right in front of them. Not sure what is real anymore. This is another sign that we have a nation that's in severe distress.
I think the truth is the same thing I've been saying since he resigned. 4 days ago, my time.
You mean when when someone resigned for him? You mean
when somebody resigned for him? Yes, because I actually I looked at the the signatures. The signature on that document doesn't match his recent signatures, but if he's truly ill, it wouldn't. I can't make a call on that. I'm not a signature expert, but he's in no shape to run the country. I think he's just seriously ill, and they had to I think the thing I hear over here in Russia all the time is it's a coup. Well, he's dead, and it's a coup. So, a coup, I'd put some serious consideration into that if we use the overused word of coup. He has not been well. He's not capable of running the country. He could not be in front of the public until the elections and win. And there was so much pressure from donors pulling out him. He's spot on one moment, and then he's lost in a daze the next. I think they simply had to maybe give him COVID to take him out and give an excuse for him to not be there, keep him out of the public eye, let whoever's running things continue running things until after the elections, until new president's inaugurated. But basically say, Joe, you're giving things up, and you're going to sit in your office and you're going to shut up, which is why we haven't seen him for 4 days.
Yeah.
Well, that speech was full of that speech was full of more crap than his depends, and
yes,
there was no truth in that. I don't even think, did he say step down or resign? Did he say that at all, or did he say just
from the election?
No, but not from the letter, right? Or not from the speech. Did he say he was like,
tonight? He said that it's been his honor or whatever to have served as president, and so there wasn't. It wasn't like he came out and formally, verbally said that he was no longer seeking the election. I thought that the wording, honestly, should have been different. I would have scripted it differently to just put all of that to rest, but he didn't.
No, he didn't. And that's the more smoke and mirrors that we're getting out of the Biden administration. You pointed out, like, with inflation and with manufacturing, and then he said violent crime is at an all-time low. Well, I've researched that, and the fact of the matter is, during his presidency, the FBI changed how you report the crime statistics in the country. And so most of the police departments that were doing it said, this is BS, we're not doing it. So they stopped this voluntary crime reporting program. And then Biden gets to go up there and say, violent crime is at a whole new low. Well, that's because they're not reporting it to the FBI anymore. It's not happening. Like,
Does
these
this
are
look like violent crime is at an all-time low?
Terrorists! Terrorists! Back up! Back up! We're back, you fucking idiot! We're back! Shut the fuck up! Get the fuck off him! Get the fuck off him! Shame on you! Bro, he's strangling you!
Shame on you for arresting one guy in that giant crowd.
Yeah.
The biggest shame here is that this is happening on Joe Biden's doorstep right now. And what does he have to say about it? He said nothing about it. He should have said, enough is enough. Go home. He should have said something like that.
But if he does that, will just inflame things, see? He's afraid. He's afraid to say anything.
He should have said something, though.
And the other reason,
that's
the other reason he doesn't say anything, Brendan? Because most of these people are Democrats. That's
I
why.
understand that. I understand that.
Yeah.
But that's not what his job is to do. His job isn't to be partisan like that. He needs to...
Yep.
They're in his swamp. He's the swamp monster. It's not my swamp. It's his swamp. Pick up your swamp, man.
It's his job to keep the country stable. That's one of his things. And when things are getting out of hand, he's supposed to be the steady hand at the wheel. He's supposed to come out and speak to the people and say, let's calm down. Let's come together. He's supposed to be, building up national pride. He's supposed to be a national cheerleader. When there's violence in the streets, he should be addressing it. You're quite right. But of course he won't, because he's afraid, because these people are actually from his side for the most part, just like Trudeau. Right. In fact, Marco Rubio tonight, and I'll try and find you the tweet. I'd forgotten about this, but Marco Rubio has expressed concerns tonight about national security in the United States because of Canada allowing protesters like this into Canada. And he sees these people as a threat to the U.S. I'll see if I can find you the exact post.
And I was very happy to hear him make a mention about one of my favorite things. Remember when Joe Biden had said it's going to be the winter of death for the unvaccinated? Well, that was one of the first things he was talking about that in there. The winter of peril is what he called it. Well, screw that guy. He was wrong about that, and he was wrong about everything else he said.
Yeah.
Here we go right here.
I'm more mad about this than I am the Liberty Bell.
So here's what he posted on his website. Rubio and colleagues warn of terrorist-tied Gazans crossing northern border. That would be Canada. It says Canada recently increased the number of refugees they will allow to enter on temporary resident visas from Israel and the Palestinian territories, including Gaza and the West Bank. There is concern this may allow Gazans with potential terrorist ties to enter the U.S. through Canada. Given the few reliable records or background checks available, Canada's decision will turn the northern border into a much greater national security problem. U.S. Senator Marco Rubio and colleagues sent a letter to U.S. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, urging him to heighten precautions along the U.S.-Canada border. And I can go on, but you've got the idea.
It's happening every day. We just had an incident in my town where somebody had set up a human trafficking situation, and they put people on jet skis, carried them across the river to the United States, and then the United States Border Patrol nailed them as soon as they land, that they were transporting 3 people that were moving illegally into the United States.
Yeah, I see the threat. I see it, but that's me. Kevin, am I being paranoid? Am I letting Marco Rubio get the better of me?
You're letting Marco Rubio get the better of you because obviously Trump is going to be elected and then he's going to make Canada build a border wall.
No, they're not. You know what they're going to do? Just listen to Jackson Hinkle, Tucker Carlson. I think even Tim Pool came out recently. Don't quote me on Pool. It was somebody else. I think it might have been him. They're going to invade Canada and take it over. And if it's not them, it's the Russians, which could happen too.
Well. Maybe it's a joint effort.
It might well be if I've been looking at some of the QAnon stuff coming in, and it might just be exactly that. The thing is, when I'm seeing posts like that from Rubio, I see these protests like we've had today, when I see what's been going on here in Canada, when I see CSIS in Canada acknowledging that we have actual members of parliament in Canada who have been compromised because they are corrupt and are wittingly helping to facilitate foreign interference in our political process. To what degree, I don't know, but they're not naming the names. And then I see Tucker Carlson and other, prominent media personalities talking about invading Canada. I don't know how much of that is actually a joke at this point, because everything else is so weird. That might actually be true too. I don't know. For all I know, Joe Biden is a robot.
Well, he's definitely one of the most notable puppets. Like, he's definitely very puppet-like. He's not calling the shots, right? He's not calling the shots.
No, he's not. I mean, at least that much is quite apparent.
I'm wondering, what they gave him so he could actually read that speech as relatively well as he did.
He still screwed it up in a couple of spots if you watch.
Yeah. So
Valium.
I just used Rick's favorite tool. If you calculate inflation in the United States the way they used to do it, inflation in the United States is 14.1%.
There you go. Did you go to a website to find that?
No, GPT.
Chat GPT. There you go. Yeah. So you can find anything you want to know on Chat GPT. And most of it's pretty accurate too. It is biased because it favors certain kinds of information over others. So you'll find a bias in it, but not bad. Yeah. 14.
Yeah.
So I was pretty accurate, wasn't I? I said
you were
somewhere around 15%, right? Yeah.
Yep. Hair higher than under Carter, and I remember those days.
Oh, I remember those days too. Yeah.
Me too. Back in my day.
I remember lineups at the gas pumps. Yeah.
Yep.
In the 1970s. Yep. What a disaster.
26 cents a gallon to 76 cents a gallon.
Yeah.
But it's the same signs today. What goes up? Gas goes up, and it affects everything.
That's exactly right.
But the economy is doing well. Cookies and cream ice cream is selling well.
Maybe that's the chips he was talking about. Eh?
Maybe.
The chocolate chip.
The chocolate chips.
He has an affinity for ice cream. We all know that.
Let's look this up. Sales of chocolate chips. Can we get a graph? Let's see
I
here.
don't know.
Oh. 7 billion chocolate chips are sold every year.
Is that just in the United States? Or
in the United States?
7 billion chocolate chips.
I can't
Heck,
get a
that
spreadsheet or a
the
graph.
the annual deficit for the U.S. government is it dwarfs the number of chocolate chips consumed.
I didn't say consumed. That's how many are
sold. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, you need cheap fuel, affordable energy in order to have a stable, robust economy. It's a requirement. You have to have affordable energy to fuel your industry, to heat your homes in a modern society. That's the main thing. And under Biden, energy costs alone have increased substantially, just like when Carter was in the White House. But that was all because of destabilization in the Middle East. That was because of OPEC and and a reduction in oil output to drive the price up, and they did that because Carter was weak.
You mean history is repeating itself?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't do that. It rhymes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when I say you have to be a strong president, I don't mean that you have to go around threatening to beat other countries up or even carry the country into war. You need to be creative. You need to be sharp. You need to be smart. You need to exercise. You need to engage in diplomacy. And if you really need to, you need to be prepared to use your military as well, if you really, really need to. But Biden has just botched everything. In my opinion, he has.
And this is not a political ad for Donald Trump, but he said, a few days ago that people were criticizing him. You went and you met with Putin, you went to North Korea, met with Kim Jong-un, and he said, we should be friends with the guys that have the most nuclear weapons in the entire world. And, that shows more foreign policy knowledge and diplomacy, or at least right thought process, than Joe Biden can show.
Yeah, well, there's some common sense in that, right?
Yeah. So what does that tell us about Biden?
Yeah. And, if you engage in commerce, if you trade with other countries and you try to make each other prosperous, as long as everybody's acting in good faith, then, that can maybe lead to peace as well. Now, I have to say that it's a two-way street always between two nation states. So, it's not always just up to the United States. It depends on what other country they're dealing with too, whether they're actually acting in good faith. And I see that I have to say, I see that with peace protesters a lot too, where they go out, they march for peace, but in reality, they're not really marching for peace. They're marching for a ceasefire sometimes because they want their side because their side is losing.
They're marching for chaos. They're marching for chaos.
Yeah, sometimes that's
what
it really.
They created chaos today, and that's what we got. That's what they're marching for. That's what the message is.
Yeah,
chaos.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, I guess that kind of gets us to the end of our conversation, or close to it. I'll kind of throw it out to you guys because we've now witnessed that firsthand that Joe Biden is alive. So we've sort of maybe established that. Although I'm going to ask in the chat: is Joe Biden alive or not? Let's let's just survey the audience, shall we? What do you think, Maverick family? Was that Joe Biden? Is he alive? I'm just waiting to give it a moment in the chat. What do you guys think? Kevin, Is Joe Biden alive?
Yeah, I think Joe Biden is alive. Is it Joe Biden that we're seeing all the time? I don't know about that. You know, I hear a lot of comments out there that Biden is on his way to Paris. And, you know, he's ill. He can't run the office. He's focusing on the office, but he's going to Paris. People need to understand he actually went to Paris back the first part of June. So that's old news. You know, they're not going to let him get on a plane and make a public appearance in the next 6 months. I think the United States is in serious trouble right now. I think the world is in serious trouble. And we need to, you know, sit back, see what happens without reading into things. Look at the facts, and facts, not everything you see on social media or on YouTube or wherever you're getting your facts from. Look at the actual facts and make decisions. You know, the Trump shooting, that was a massive Secret Service screw up. The Secret Service agents around Trump right at the stage did a great job. Now, a lot of the other stuff, if you look at facts, was all communication stuff. So you can add the conspiracies. The guy was up there for hours. They, you know, telling the police and everything. Those are all facts, but you can't spin that into a conspiracy theory. Get out of the conspiracy theories. It'll remain a conspiracy theory until facts are released. And even then, the conspiracy theorists will insist that the facts have been modified or hidden. If Trump does release the JFK files, the conspiracy theorists will say that he didn't release everything. So stay out of the conspiracies. That's all I have to say. I'm annoyed about the Liberty Bell, so.
Yeah. Well, to elaborate on that, what is it about the Liberty Bell that bothers you?
Well, it's history. You know, we've gotten to the point in the world where many countries are trying to destroy their history. You know, it doesn't matter if you remove, you know, statues of Civil War heroes. They were still Civil War heroes. The Civil War still happened. The Liberty Bell. The thing that really pisses me off about that is a symbol of what the United States was and how it became to be. So when you start jumping up and down about free speech, I'm an American, and you're doing all that, and then you go and you try to destroy something that represents history. Useful idiots.
It's literally,
sorry, Brendan, I'm stealing your term.
The Liberty Bell. They're trash. It's an assault on liberty itself.
Yeah,
that's what that is. But you know what? They don't care, because they don't believe in it. They don't believe in democracy. They don't believe in freedom. They don't believe in liberty at all.
They don't believe in genders. They don't believe in nations. They don't believe in anything. It's all subjective.
Because we are under attack. And it makes me sad. And I'm scared, to be quite honest. Gentlemen, thank you so much for spending your time here tonight. Thank you, whole Maverick family. Kevin, especially to you. Thank you for staying up so late. And in your sleep-deprived condition, you were still very, very helpful. Great thoughts. Yeah.
Always a pleasure to be here.
Okay, folks. And we will be back tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. See you all then on the flip side.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.